G'day YouTubers, I will preview this week's round of the AFL games. Before I start, it will be muchly appreciated if you can subscribe, comment and like. Every subscriber will be very much appreciated. Alright, let's get the show started. Let's go! Yeah! My review of round 21 words are: tip the Doggies to beat the Demons. Yeah, got that right. The second game, I tipped the Suns to beat the Eagles. Incorrect. The Suns can't win a game away. The third game, I tipped the Kangaroos to beat Richmond. Yeah, got that right. The fourth game, I got the Cats to beat the Crows. Woohoo! The fifth game, I tipped Carlton to beat Penrith and Collingwood in his 400 game. No good, Collingwood won. I tipped the Power to beat the Swans. Yeah, the Power smashed the Swans by over 100 points. I tipped the Giants to beat the Hawks. Woohoo! I tipped the Bombers to beat Freo. Yeah. And the last game, I got the Lions to beat the Saints. Woohoo! For this week, I tipped 7 out of 9 games correct. For season 2024, my total votes is 116. I hope I do better next week. Let's see my video for round 22 preview. My 3, 2, 1 for the Brownlow votes after round 21 are: in top spot is P. Cripps Carlton with 31 votes. In joint second spot are 3 players with 28 votes are L. Neil, Brisbane Lions, N. Dacos, Collingwood, and A. Chalor, Western Bulldogs. And in third spot is C. Sarong, Fremantle, with 26 votes. The first game of the week is between Sydney and Collingwood. Last week, Sydney was very bad against Power and lost by 100 plus points. Collingwood beat Carlton in a close game for Penrith's 400th game. The players in the mix for the Swans are Armadi, Laddams and Shedrick. For the Magpies, their players in the mix are Dean and McRae. The players injured for the Swans are Rampy, Papley and Milliken. For the Magpies, they'll be missing DeGoey, Kruger, Mychek and Mitchell. If we compare the ruck midfield setup on both sides, you got Grundy, ex-Collingwood player, against Cameron. I expect Grundy to beat Cameron. Then you got Jordan against Nick Dacos. Jordan's a hard inside mid. Nick Dacos, a class elite midfielder. I expect Dacos to do well against Jordan. Then you got Rowbottom against Lipinski. Say that's even between these two players. Then you got Chad Warner against Cripps. I expect Chad Warner to have an advantage over Cripps. And then you got Gordon and Pendlebury. Gordon, one of the best kickers in the league, whereas Pendlebury, best football IQ player in that league. Given that Sydney is struggling, winning only like 1 game of the last 6, and Collingwood doing okay, they've been 50-50, they've won a couple and lost a couple in the last month. And given that Sydney needs some redemption after their terrible game against the Power last week, and given that it's played on a Friday night, big time television, I'm going to tip the Swans to beat the Magpies. They can't play worse than what they did against Port Adelaide in Adelaide on Saturday night last week. The second game of the week on the Saturday is between Brisbane and GWS. The players in the mix for the Lions are Robinson and Lyons. For the Giants, their players in the mix are Haynes and Alir. The players injured for the Lions are Payne, Gardner, McCarthy, Coleman and Dode. The Giants will be missing Fahy, Bruce, Kelly, Rosen, Cardi, Cogniglio and Cummings. If we compare the ruck midfield setup on both sides, you got McInerney against Briggs. I expect McInerney to win the hitouts against Briggs. Then you got McCluggage against Green. Tom Green is more of an inside mid bull. McCluggage is more outside. Green will win the inside, but McCluggage will do more damage on the outside. Then you got Neil against Bedford. I expect Neil to dominate against Bedford. Then you got Dunkley against Ward, both hard inside mids. So that's even between the two. Then you got Jared Berry against Cunningham. Cunningham is a good young player, but Berry has more experience, and I expect Berry to dominate against those two players. Looking at the two ruck midfield setup, I expect the Lions to have more advantage in this area, given that the Giants do have a number of injuries, and given that Brisbane is in a hot streak of form recently and winning lots of games, and the game is played at the Gabba, I'm going to tip the Lions to win this game. The third game of the week is between North Melbourne and West Coast. What a game. Last week, the Kangaroos beat Richmond, and the Eagles beat Gold Coast Sun on a Friday night. The players in the mix for the Kangaroos are Dawson and Bergman. The players in the mix for West Coast are Chesser, Cully, Cacelli and Barras. The players injured for the Kangaroos are Stevens, Goda, Colin Jones and George. The players injured for the Eagles are H. Edwards, Brockman, Hewitt, and long. If you compare the ruck midfield setup of both sides, you got Xeri against Williams. Xeri top 3 ruckman in the league at this moment, so expect Xeri to dominate against Williams. Then you got David Giniaki against Gimby. Gimby, good young inside mid, but David Giniaki is starting to play like a 25 player in the league, given that he was taken top 5 in the draft 5 or 6 years ago. So I expect David Giniaki to do well against young Gimby, who's a good inside midfield, but is still learning his craft. Then you got Captain Simpkins against Kelly. Simpkins is a good honours midfielder, but Kelly's got the outside speed, so I expect Kelly to do well against Simpkins. Then you got young Shizel, who's going to be a gun, against Yo, experienced mid. Shizel will get a lot of possessions, and with his clean disposals, he'll be able to set a lot of attacks to the north forwards. Say that even between these two players, because Yo is still a good player at this stage. Then you got young Powell against Reed. I expect Reed to totally dominate against Powell. Look at the ruck midfield setup. It's pretty even between these two sides, and given that the game is playing in Tasmania, North Melbourne did very well at Tasmania. Both teams are confident in winning last week. I'm going to tip the Kangaroos to win this game. The next game of the week is between Fremantle and Geelong. The players in the mix for the Dockers are Abner, Brody, and Fife returning from suspension. For the Cats, their players in the mix are Parfitt, Hardy, Rowan, and Duncan. The players injured for the Dockers are Pearce, McDonald, Corbett, and Walters. The Cats will be missing Wiltshire, Cam Guthrie, Hawkins, and DeConning. If we compare the ruck midfield setup on both sides, you got Sam Darcy against Blickaz. Blickaz is a good ruckman who can run around the ground and gather lots of possession when the ball hits the ground, but Darcy is a top ruckman. I expect Darcy to give Freo the advantage in this spot. Then you got Young against Holmes. Holmes is a good outside runner. Hayden Young is more inside, but he's got one of the best kicks in the league, and he sets so many offensive moves with the Fremantle forwards. Then you got Sarong against Dempsey. Sarong can play the way he's playing at the moment, and Dempsey is still learning his craft, so I expect Sarong to do well against Dempsey. Then you got young Brayshaw against the experienced Duncan. Duncan, a great experienced player, but Brayshaw is in his form of his life, so expect Brayshaw to do well against Duncan. Then you got the two experienced gun, Fife against Dangerfield. Say that's even between those two mids. Just looking at the two midfield of both sides, I give the advantage to Fremantle, and if they give enough inside 50 to their forwards of Amos and Jackson, I expect Fremantle to have plenty of scoring opportunities. Therefore, I'm going to tip Freo to beat Geelong. The next game of the week is between Essendon and Gold Coast. I have no idea who to select. Both sides have been very disappointing lately. The players in the mix for the Bombers are Setterfield, Sestes, Hobbs, and Hine. The players in the mix for the Suns are Walter and Atkins. The players injured for the Dons are Filthy, Ridley, Reid, El Howie, and Baldwin. The Suns will be missing King, Ainsworth, Miller, Casbolt. If you compare the ruck midfield setup of both sides, you got Draper against Moyle. Moyle is a hard aggressive ruck, but I expect Draper to do well against Moyle. Then you got Durham against Anderson. Anderson, a great outside mid, so I expect Anderson to do well against Durham. Then you got Parrish against Rao. Rao's an inside midfield. Parrish is more outside, so they'll do well in their own field area. So that's in between those two. Then you got Merritt against Holman. I expect Merritt to gather lots of outside possession and therefore dominate against Holman. Then you got Cardwell against Flanders. Both players like to gather lots of possession. So it's even between those two players. Just looking at the ruck midfield setup, I just give the advantage to Essendon. Given that the game is playing in Melbourne, I'm going to tip Essendon to win this game. The next game of the week is between Melbourne and Port Adelaide. Melbourne lost to the Western Bulldogs, and Port Adelaide smashed Sydney Swans by 100 plus points. The players in the mix for the Demons are McAdam, Jefferson, and Hunter. The players in the mix for the Power are Williams, Lord, and McKenzie. The players injured for the D's are Salem, Spargo, Petrarca, and May. The players injured for the Power are Power Pepper, Solid, and Finlayson. If you compare the ruck midfield setup on both sides, you got Gawn against Sweet. I expect Gawn to dominate against Jordan Sweet. Then in midfield, you got Oliver against Butters. Both players are pretty similar, but Butters has more outside. Therefore, I expect Butters to do well against Oliver. Then you got inside ball Winey against Rosie. Winey will find a lot of ball on the inside. Rosie can go inside, but he's more outside, and I expect Rosie to dominate against Winey. Then you got Rivers against Wine. Rivers is more outside, whereas Wine's a midfield ball, so he'll get a lot of ball inside and bullock his way. So I expect Wine to do well against Rivers. Then you got Sparrow, who's also more outside against Drew, who's also inside midfield bull. I expect Drew to do well against these two. And look at the ruck midfield setup. I just give the chocolate to the power midfield, and that's excluding Horn Francis, who's been doing very well in the last month. Therefore, I'm going to tip the power to win this game. The next game is between Carlton and Hawthorn. Carlton lost to Collingwood and Hawthorn lost to the Giants, while they had a 28-point lead at 3/4 time, and the Giants overran them in the last quarter. The players in the mix for the Blues are Carroll, Binns and Young. The players in the mix for the Hawks are Huswaite, Mitchell and McKenzie. The players injured for the Blues along this are Cunningham, DeConning, Durden, Williams, Sarah, Kerno, Cottrell, Dognick and Savani. The players injured for the Hawks are Blanc, Butler and Lewis. If you compare the ruck midfield set on both sides, you got Pitnott against Meek. They'll be pretty even between those two, but I expect Meek to contribute more around the ground and get more possessions. Then you got the midfield bull of Cripps against Newcombe. Newcombe is a good young midfield, but Cripps is top 10 player in the league and very elite, so I expect Cripps to dominate against Newcombe. Then you got Kennedy against Day. Kennedy's more inside, because Day is inside outside, and I'll give the chocolates to Day over Kennedy. Then you got Hewitt against Warpel, an inside bull. Hewitt is more outside, so say it's even between those two. Then you got Walsh against young McKenzie. McKenzie's a good young player, but Walsh is a league top 20 or top 10 player in the league. Can go inside and can just run all day and go on the outside and provide so many forward 50 entries to their forwards. Looking at the ruck midfield setup, it's pretty even between these two. However, given that Cal's got a number of injuries and Kono being injured, they may struggle to score goals. And Hawthorn's been in a good form, even though they lost to the Giants last week when they probably in theory should have won that game, given that they overran in the last quarter. I'm going to tip the Hawks to win this game. The second last game of the week is between Richmond and St Kilda. The players in the mix for the Tigers are Sonsi, Blight and Pickett. For the Saints, their players in the mix are Dow and Patton. The players injured for the Tigers are Lynch, Ross, Green, Gipcus, Larfoot and Grimes. The Saints will be missing Ross, Crouch, King, Van Ness and Henry. If you compare the ruck midfield setup on both sides, you got Nankervis against Marshall. Nankervis is a very good honest ruckman, but Marshall is a very good tap ruckman, and also he gathers a lot of ball around the ground. So expect Marshall to dominate against Nankervis. Then you got Taranto against Ross. Taranto is an elite player, so expect Taranto to dominate against Ross. Then you got Pressy against Hill. Pressy is good midfield. Hill can go inside and can run all day. So I'll just give the chocolates to Hill. Then you got Baker against Steele. Steele is an inside bull mid. Baker is more outside. Say that's even between those two. Then you got Hopper and Winghager. Winghager is a tagger for the Saints. Hopper is a midfield bull. Say that's even between those two. I just say the ruck midfield setup is pretty equal between those two. I give them that St Kilda. They've been doing well in the last month, and Richmond, so many injuries, have been struggling recently. I'm going to tip the Saints to win this game, and also the game is played at Marble, whereas Richmond do a lot better playing at the MCG. The last game of the week is between the Crows and the Western Bulldogs. The Crows lost to Geelong by unknown goal last week, and the Bulldogs beat Melbourne on a Friday night. The players in the mix for the Crows are Smith and Rankin. Players in the mix for the Western Bulldogs are McRae, Keith, Sands and Baker. The players injured for the Crows are Butts, Parnell, Pedler and Miller. The Bulldogs will be missing Johansson, Smith, Liberatore and Gardner. If we compare the ruck midfield setup on both sides, you got O'Brien against English. O'Brien will win lots of hitouts, but English will contribute a lot more around the ground, so I give the advantage to English. Then you got Dawson against Bont. Bont is top 5 player in the league. He can go forward, kick goals, get a lot of contested possession. Dawson can also get a lot of contested possession and also one of the best kickers in the league. So that's even between those two. Then you got Laird against Treloar. I expect Treloar, who can go inside outside, to dominate against Laird. Then you got young Saligo against Sanders. Sanders is a good first year player, but Saligo is showing his talents and is doing well as a midfielder in his third season. So we give the chocolates to Saligo. Then you got Berry against McRae. Berry is a good young player, but McRae, experienced premiership player. I expect McRae to dominate against Berry. I give the chocolates to the Western Bulldogs ruck midfield setup. Given that the Crows have been struggling lately and the Bulldogs doing well, I'm going to tip the Western Bulldogs to win this game. My tips for this week are the Swans over Collingwood, the Lions over the Giants, North Melbourne to beat the Eagles, the Dockers to beat the Cats, the Bombers to beat the Suns, the Power to beat the D's, the Hawks to beat the Blues, the Saints to beat the Tigers, and the Doggies beat the Crows. Thank you for watching my show. It will be much appreciated if you can subscribe, comment and like. Every subscriber will be much appreciated. I hope to hear from you next time. See ya.